Kaythren stood upon the black frigid bluffs as the ocean roared beneath him, waves crashing thunderously against the jagged rock. The cold, biting wind surged southward, whipping his thick bear cloak in the air. He stared into the raging waters, drawn to the violent, untamed energy they carried, a mirror to the war he had waged against the late king. The storm gathering above reminded him of the chaos left in the wake of battle, a force that consumed all and left behind barren ruin. He thought of the countless elves who had fought and died for his cause, their sacrifices staining his path to the throne. The crown, once a symbol of ambition and triumph, now felt impossibly heavy upon his head, its golden gleam tainted crimson. A sharp voice broke his trance. "My lord," Kaythren blinked, his gaze pulling away from the water. "We must not be late. It would sit poorly with the people." With a silent nod, he turned and stepped away from the bluffs, walking back to the column of mourners heading toward the funeral of the deposed king. As the wagons rumbled over uneven terrain, Kaythren's mind drifted back to another memory, one that had haunted him ever since the day of his final duel. "Lord Kaythren, if you win this fight, pledge to me that you will care for my wife and unborn son." The words echoed in his mind, heavier now than they had been in the moment. He glanced out of the wagon's window, catching sight of the towering volcanic spires on the horizon. Once alive and fearsome, they had long since grown cold, now repurposed as a resting place for the dead. Massive and ancient, they stretched toward the heavens like nature's own cathedrals, silent keepers of history. Here, in these spires, the fallen were laid to rest. Kings, priests, warriors. The column carved its way through a sea of mourning citizens. Thousands gathered to pay their respects. As Kaythren stepped onto the black volcanic soil, he could feel their scorn, a quiet but unmistakable rejection of his presence. Yet, they did not resist him, for he had honored his promise. At the entrance of the grand stone archway stood the monks of Malenka, their robes shifting in the cold wind. They guarded the cathedral of the dead, where the rulers of past ages were entombed. Among them, the head priest, a man whose face bore the weight of centuries, watched Kaythren approach. The old priest had once supported the war against the king, believing in the righteousness of their cause. His warrior monks had fought beside Kaythren, and now they stood as solemn witnesses to his reign. "My lord," the priest said with quiet reverence, "thank you for granting respect to a fallen king. The people will remember this." Kaythren nodded but remained silent, his thoughts restless. Inside the cathedral, his footsteps echoed against the towering stone walls. He turned toward the priest, a deep unease settling within him. "Why do I feel so—" He hesitated, searching for the right words. The priest watched him carefully. "Guilty?" Kaythren inhaled sharply. "Yes. Why? We won the battles. We stopped a tyrant from hurting others. Why do I feel defeated?" The old priest glanced around the sacred hall, his gaze distant yet knowing. "It is because you understand pain and loss," he murmured. "You have seen what war demands, and that knowledge lingers within you. But that is all behind you now. It is time to move forward, time to become the king your people need." The ceremony passed in heavy silence, with mourners offering their respects. Yet for some, the sight of the victor standing beside the late queen stirred anger. Their resentment, though unspoken, hung in the air. As night descended, the grand dining table was set, filled with lavish dishes and untouched wine. Kaythren sat alone, staring at the feast laid before him. "Servant," his voice was steady, though his mind was burdened. "Has an invitation been sent to Lady Arnemy?" "No, my lord," the servant replied. "It is not customary for two opposing houses to dine together after a defeat." Kaythren frowned, irritation flickering in his expression. The old traditions, so rigid, so unforgiving, only deepened the divide. "Go to her chambers," he ordered. "Invite her to dine. I cannot eat all of this alone." The servant hesitated before bowing. "As you wish, my lord."